Belong, then believe.
Faith and family.
Make disciples.
Welcome to Vertical Live.
trust that you will know just where my feet should go. I'll never have to second guess a word you spoke. And if I've lost your path, straight from what you said, I'm surrendered on the altar. I'll light the flame again. Whatever your plan is, or you make a way for it. Whatever your will is, come and do it. Whatever your plan is, you'll make a way for it. Whatever your will is, come and do it here. Oh, come and do it here. We're ready, we're ready. Oh, come and do it here. Every corner of my heart, take your place in every part. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. Though it cost me everything, I'll still follow where you lead. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me. Oh, every corner of my heart, take your place in every part. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. Though it cost me everything, I'll still follow where you lead. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. Oh, you've never failed. Sing whatever. Whatever your plan is, will you make a way for it? Whatever your will is, come and do it here. Whatever your plan is, will you make a way for it? Whatever your will is, come and do it here. We know you are moving. We just have to trust you. Oh, we just have to trust you. Oh. We're going to sing this bridge out and let's declare it. Sing every corner. Oh, every corner of my heart, take your place in every part. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. And though it cost me everything, I'll still follow where you lead. Have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. Every corner of my heart, take your place in every part. Have your way. You come on, declare it tonight. Though it cost, and though it cost me everything, I'll still follow where you lead. Have your way. Your ways. One more time. Every corner. Oh, every corner of my heart, take your place in every part. Oh, have your way. Your ways have never failed me once. And though it cost me everything, I'll still follow where you lead. Have your way. Your ways have never failed. Sing whatever one more time. Whatever your plan is, will you make a way for it? Whatever you is, whatever your plan
about what Ashley's singing. He'll always meet us here. We'll never have to worry. He's not going anywhere. I don't know who might be thinking this right now, but I just feel that you feel like God has just left you. Specifically, those words that God has left you. He's left your family. And I want to tell you that God has not went anywhere. Even if it feels like it, even if it seems like it, God hasn't moved. He has not gone anywhere. He's not hiding from you. And the word says that if you search after him with all of your heart, you will find him. And you know what's cool about that? You don't have to hide either, because he'll always find you right where you're at. It doesn't matter what you've done, how far you've gone. He will always find me. He'll always find you. Ashton, can we go back into that? And let's just stay here and live here in his peace, knowing that he loves you. He is for you tonight. Bethel Students. Hey, Bethel Students, who's excited to be here tonight? Let me hear you. Come on. All right, now who is surviving the first week of school? Come on, some. The majority are not. I feel that. I do. You know, little known fact for some of you, I am in college. I'm in my last semester of college, and then I'm not looking back. Yes. So I feel those who are not surviving right now. Come on, I've had 5 cups of coffee today. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, anyway. So, guys, we are in our 4th week of our new series called Miracles. Look to your neighbor and say miracles. Now look to the other neighbor that you didn't choose and say miracles. Awesome. The other neighbor that you just spoke with, guess what? You were second choice. I'm sorry. Ooh. Guys, we've been in this series called Miracles, and here's what we're looking at. We are looking at 7 miracles that Jesus performs in the book of John. So basically, we're studying the book of John together, guys. And here's what we've learned so far. Week 1, we learned about Jesus turning water into wine. The second week, we learned about Jesus healing the Roman official's son. Last week, we learned about Jesus healing a man who could never walk a day in his life, and yet Jesus healed him. Y'all, I don't know about you, but I know a God that can do impossible things. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but your situation is not big enough or bad enough that God cannot do the impossible in your life. And that's what we're learning through this series we're in called Miracles, is that God can and wants to do big things in your life. Before we go any further, I have a story to tell you about a man named George Danzig. Okay? It's a really weird name, isn't it? George Danzig. In the year 1939, he enrolled in a statistics class at the University of California. And his professor wrote on the whiteboard 2 math problems that he told the class were the world's most difficult math problems. They were considered unsolvable. And I'm not talking about the algebra test that you didn't study for. I'm talking like legit, this guy could not figure it out. The entire world could not solve these 2 problems. They were unsolvable. Okay? Well, George, he was late to class, like I'm sure some of you were on this first week of school. It's okay, no shame, no shame. I'm an online student, so I would be late if I wasn't online. Anyways, not a big deal. See, George Danzig was late getting to class, and he missed the part that the problems on the board were unsolvable. And so your boy thought, oh, this is my homework assignment. And so he quickly writes it down, and he takes his entire weekend to figure out the 2 most difficult questions in the world, okay? Your boy did it, though. He solved these problems. And so he turns it into his professor. This is the following Friday for his class. He turns it in. He thinks it's his homework assignment. He's like, oh, gosh, I have failed this assignment. This was hard. And so his professor takes it in, quickly grades it, and realizes that he didn't even do what was for homework the last week. He did the 2 problems that were unsolvable. And so, turns out, the professor let some other people in that field study and to confirm, and he did solve the 2 unsolvable problems. That's cool, right? And so the professor runs to his house on a Sunday morning, wakes him up, and says, George, you solved the 2 unsolvable problems. You know, here in just a little bit, we're going to dive into John chapter 6. And Jesus and his disciples found themselves needing to solve what seemed to be an unsolvable problem. Jesus had become very popular. Don't you think that if you turn water into wine, you start healing a bunch of people, that you're probably going to become popular, right? Okay? See, Jesus was doing this, right? He turned water into wine. That alone would make you popular. I'm not touching on that, though. And then he gave someone the ability to walk. He healed a man from over 20 miles away. Big things are happening. He's gained a following, and now he's hanging out next to a hillside, and 20,000 people are approaching him. Who in here has anxiety with large crowds, okay? Okay, yeah, y'all probably wouldn't survive 20,000 people, okay? And so Jesus and his disciples, they see this huge crowd coming towards them because they're on top of a hilltop. And the disciples say this. I don't know why they thought this, but I guess this was the thing to do. We probably need to feed them, okay? They came to hear Jesus teach, and it was lunchtime. They are hangry. You don't want to upset 20,000 people when there's only 13 of you, okay? Who knows that's true? Well, they decide, well, all we have is this boy's lunch, a child's lunch of 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And so the disciples look at this boy and they say, give us your 5 loaves and 2 fish. And so I don't know why Jesus thought this was the thing to do, but he decides that's plenty to feed 20,000 people. And he begins dispersing it. But here's what's cool, is that God multiplied it, and it was more than enough to feed 20,000 people until they were full and have 12 baskets of leftovers. That's crazy, right? But you know, I'm not even going to talk about that miracle tonight. In fact, I want to talk about something that you probably missed because I missed it when I was studying. You see, I don't want to talk about the miracle. I want to talk about Jesus and the disciples using the little boy's meal. 5 loaves and 2 fish. But before we do, I just want to refresh in our memory. Let's read John chapter 6, starting in verse 8. Then Andrew, Peter's brother, spoke up. There's a young boy here with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But what good is that? This is a huge crowd. And then verse 11. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. Okay, so can we stop here? Let's assume that the disciples did not just punk this kid and steal his lunch, okay? Because stealing's bad. I'm pretty sure Jesus wouldn't do that. They probably didn't steal his meal. So we're left to assume that this kid willingly gave them 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He chose to give them this bread, right? Now, here's what we need to look at. This boy, check this out. If this boy had refused to give Jesus the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, because who knows, who has younger siblings in here, okay? Anyone, yeah? Who knows that it's like a miracle in and of itself that a younger child would even share food, right? So that's a whole nother miracle. But Jesus asked him to give him his lunch, but imagine if he had said no. Imagine if he decided, you know what? I'm good, I'm pretty hangry, and I'm going to eat my lunch, right? I'm willing to say this. If the boy had not been available to give Jesus 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, then the 20,000 people would not have ate that day. Because, am I saying that Jesus could not have done it? Am I saying that Jesus would not have provided something for them? No, I'm not saying that at all. God can do anything he wants to do, right? But I want us to look at, in order for Jesus to use 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, he needed that boy's meal. And more importantly, he needed the boy to be available. In fact, who thinks that feeding people, 20,000 people, with just a little meal, a kid's meal, literally, who thinks that makes sense? Does anyone think that's just a great plan? Okay, literally one person, there we go. Awesome, cool. You're not planning lunches for the next trip, bro. Sorry. But here's the point I'm trying to make. God's plan, it rarely makes sense. God's will for your life, more often than not, you're probably going to have to look at it and make sure that God didn't mess up when he called you to that. In fact, God's will very rarely makes perfect sense to us. About a year ago, something amazing happened. Next month will mark 1 year since Kat and I moved to Temple to be part of the Bethel family. Hands down, best decision I made in 2019, guys, seriously. And I'm not just saying that to make Jacob Powell feel good, I promise you. But here's what no one knows because I have not talked about it with anyone here. I wanted to wait till we were about a year out, I'm sorry. Here we are a year later. It just so happens the story fits perfectly with the message tonight. I didn't plan that, literally. It was all God. But here's what I have not talked about. What made us choose Temple, Texas? Some of you have asked, why Temple? You're from some small town that literally no one has heard of in Northeast Louisiana. My wife and I, if you're not familiar, we are not from here. Okay, if you can't tell, listen to us talk for just a little bit, okay? Our hometown where our family lives, we consider this home now. I told my wife this just last week. This feels like home to me. And I haven't felt home in a couple of years, to be honest with you. It feels good to be home. But our family lives 7 hours away. So why would we choose Temple, Texas? You know, at the time when all of our friends in Louisiana, all of our pastor friends found out that we were leaving our church in Louisiana, we were pursuing something else. We didn't know what that something else was. All we knew was that God had something else planned. And so when God said move, we move. And then he'll provide the rest, right? We kind of did this backwards, but that's okay because God's good. And so we had several people call us and say, hey, if you want to move over here, it's cool. We have a spot for you. But then out of nowhere, I got a message on Facebook at 5:30 in the morning from a man named Pastor Elwyn Johnston. And he said, hey, I heard about you and what you've been doing in Louisiana. If you want to apply, totally cool, okay? Give me a call whenever you wake up. I happen to be up, don't know why. Literally, it's crazy. And so, turns out, we didn't have any connection here. We didn't really know anyone here. We knew Pastor Trey Bordelon, the young adults pastor. We knew of him, but we didn't have that type of a relationship with him. And so on paper, it didn't make sense. On paper, like we didn't know anyone in Central Texas. We didn't know anyone in this area at all. We knew one person in Dallas, and that's it. Like, why? Why would God do this? But we started praying, God, help us make our decision. We don't want to do something that you don't want us to do. And God answered our prayers. Isn't it cool when God answers prayers? I didn't like the answer he gave me, by the way. He said, we both felt this. We didn't hear this audibly. We just felt this spiritually in our heart that God was giving us the freedom to choose. I didn't like that because I didn't want to choose. I wanted him to choose for me, right? Who hates making choices, especially when you're going out to eat? Yeah? Okay. Sorry, rabbit trail, I'm really hungry. And so we looked at the options and we asked ourselves, which place requires us to believe God the most? Which place requires us to have more faith? And so we looked at Temple, Texas, and we said, no one knows us here. Our family's 7 hours away. My parents are older, and by older, my dad is 77, and my mom is 66. 7 hours away. But I'm going to have to believe God more now than ever. You see, that's the point I'm trying to make tonight. God won't use, or can't use, rather, what you won't give him. I need y'all to hear that tonight. God can't use what you won't give him. For us, we gave him our entire life. We gave him our family. We gave him the town we were living in. We gave him everything. We gave him our faith. And what did God do? A year later, here's what we can say God did, okay? Here's what God did. God provided us not only an amazing career for my wife that she loves doing, all right? That's something that she had not had, and she has a passion for, and she kills it at Western Hills Elementary. Great job, babe. Come on. But on top of that, what did God provide? See, in 2019, that was probably one of the worst years for me, to be honest. because emotionally I was not okay. I was dealing with anxiety. I was dealing with depression. I didn't feel like God had a purpose for me anymore. I just didn't feel God for the majority of that year until we moved away. And do you know what God provided for me in the last year? Because I gave him my faith. He gave me something I had not felt in 2 years. He gave me joy, and he gave me a place I could call home. More importantly than that, he gave me you guys. Every person in this room, you are a result of us giving God our faith. And he came through and showed himself faithful every single time. In fact, we love you, and it's our honor to be your youth pastor. I wanted to say that to you guys tonight. God can't use what you won't give him. You see, we would have missed out on so many amazing people and amazing lives if we had not chose to give God our story. We let him control the direction, and he proved that he will always be faithful. Just like the boy with bread and fish, he gave it to Jesus, and what did Jesus do? He multiplied it, and he proved himself faithful. I have a question for you tonight now. What is it that you have that God can multiply into a miracle? I really want you to ask yourself that question. What is it that you have? A skill? Maybe it's a job. Maybe you're making money, I don't know. Or maybe it's your status, I don't know. What is it that you have that God can use to multiply into a miracle? You know what I see, or what I saw rather? Who was a part of our I Love My City outreach? Come on, absolutely. Y'all killed it with that. Here's what I saw. I saw Kaylin Bailey, Leanne Crumley, and Caleb Frizzell build a fence in hot Texas heat. They took 2 days and killed it. I saw students giving up a week of summer to go be the hands and feet of Jesus in our city. But do you know what I see that has not happened yet? Here's what I see in this youth group. I see a movement of students that see a need, and they don't wait to tell someone else to meet that need. They see the need, and they see the God that's inside of them, and they meet the need. They're a part of a movement. This coming year, we are going to be a part of something much bigger than ourselves. We will be a part of a movement that will show this city God's love in ways that no one else has done it. Okay, I'm prophesying that right now. We are going to be a part of a movement. We are more than a service here at Bethel Church. We are a movement. We are a community, okay? But you may ask yourself, I have nothing to give. I don't have the status. I don't have the skill set. I don't have money. I'm not athletic enough. I'm not smart enough. Can I tell you one thing that maybe no one's told you before? Quit saying I can't. We said that last week, I'm saying that again. Quit saying I can't and I don't have it, because guess what? God doesn't ask you to give this huge amount. God asks you to give what you can, and he will use what you give him to do miracles. You see, the most popular people in the Bible were not the ones that gave God big things. They were the ones that gave God everything when they had nothing. Use what you have, and God will multiply it into a miracle. Use what you have at your school, and God will multiply that into a miracle. Use what you have in your family, and God will multiply it. Use what you have. It is enough. I want you to look at me. Who you are, what God has given you, each of you, you are enough to make a difference. You are enough to be a part of a movement. you are enough for God to use with a miracle. Use what you have. I want to tell you a story about a basketball team that faced an impossible situation. Notre Dame's basketball team in the 70s was coached by a man named Digger Phelps. I don't know why his mom decided to name him that. They had an amazing season, and they made it to the NCAA finals. It was a huge honor for Notre Dame, the basketball team, but there was only one problem as they approached playoff night. They were going up against UCLA, and during the 1970s, UCLA was the absolute best. They were undefeated. See, a matchup with them was pretty much an automatic L. Like, they were done. They were not going to win. And before the opening buzzer even sounded, people projected that they were going to lose big, okay? UCLA had been on a winning streak of 88 games. They never lost one time. All the odds were against them. Then the Notre Dame coach, he decided, we're going to do whatever it takes to win this game. So this is what he does. Notre Dame's coach makes them at practice every single day the week of the final game. They're going to practice like they play, like they want to play. And then after practice, they're going to take a ladder. They're going to climb up to the top and cut off the net. Because that's what you do when you win a championship game. You cut the net off. And so every day that week, they ended practice with cutting off the net, and then they celebrated as if they had just won the playoff game. And so Monday night, they cut off the net. Tuesday, they cut off their nets. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they cut down their nets. Saturday, the big day, Notre Dame is playing a historic game with UCLA, the undefeated champions. And against all odds, Notre Dame beat UCLA. And just as they practiced every day that week, they got a ladder, they cut down their nets, and they celebrated. But then a reporter asked their point guard in an interview afterwards, "Can you believe that you just beat UCLA?" And the point guard took a minute and he said this, "You know what? I can believe it because we practiced it. Our coach gave us the vision. We envisioned the victory, and we cut down our net because we win every time." They cut down their nets. I want to tell you this. Do not be focused on the past. Look at what you have. Even if you don't think it's enough. Even if you don't think that what you have is good enough, okay? Look at what you do have, because God didn't make a mistake with you. Look at what you have and envision the miracle that God can use with that one thing that you have. And then go out and do it. God doesn't need a lot. He just needs someone who's available.